These are strange times to be living in. Two men in their 80s still travel from city to city, singing the same songs that once made them legends. Their contracts forbid them from performing within 30 days of each other. One earns $2 million a night, the other $75,000. They helped create some of the greatest rock music ever recorded, but they haven't spoken since 1972. John Fogerty and Stu Cook were once best friends. Then came the lawsuits, the betrayal, and an album so bad it destroyed their band forever. What happened backstage in Denver ended everything. Neither man has forgiven the other. John Fogerty was born on May 28, 1945, in Berkeley, California, the third of 5 boys in a small tense home. His father, Galen, worked long hours for little pay, while his mother, Edith, taught school for even less. The real problem wasn't money but alcohol. Fights broke out often, and by the time John was 9, his parents split after another drunken brawl. His father moved into a dingy Oakland apartment where John visited on weekends, sitting in awkward silence. Once his father passed out drunk at John's Little League game and missed the only home run John ever hit, a moment that stayed with him for decades and helped fuel the anger and fortunate son. School wasn't much kinder. The nuns at the parochial school ruled with iron discipline. John had a nervous bladder and often wet himself, earning ridicule from classmates. Once, a nun made him wear a dunce cap after an accident during a spelling test. He lost 12 pounds that year and learned early to bottle up pain. Later, that control showed in the way he ran band rehearsals. No breaks, 6-hour sessions, every detail micromanaged. Things improved slightly when he transferred schools and met Doug Clifford and Stu Cook. They took guitar lessons together from a blunt folk musician who told John he had no rhythm and charged him double. John practiced anyway, for hours every day in a cold garage until his fingers bled. His mother once smashed his amplifier in frustration and then cried while paying to fix it. His brother Tom, already performing at local dances, let John join his band, the Blue Velvets, but mocked his stage presence during a show, leaving John humiliated. The resentment between the brothers began there. In 1962, Tom pawned John's guitar for $25 to buy marijuana. John never forgot. By then, their father was drinking himself into oblivion in a roach-infested apartment, and their mother's new husband banned music after 6 in the evening. John practiced anyway, locking himself in his room and playing until he lost track of time. Out of those lonely hours came his first songs. At 16, he even tried to run away to San Francisco, but his mother caught him at the bus station and dragged him home. By 1959, John had formed a band with Cook and Clifford. They called themselves the Blue Velvets. They played high school dances and talent shows, earning local buzz but little else. A DJ played one of their songs, Bonita, on the radio, and for a moment it felt like success was coming. It wasn't. The record sold fewer than 500 copies. Still, John started writing his own material, determined to find a voice that was his alone. When Tom officially joined, the tension deepened. John wanted full control. He wrote the songs, arranged them, and decided who sang what. Tom resented being pushed aside, and the others grew tired of John's perfectionism. In 1964, they signed with Fantasy Records, a decision that would haunt them for decades. Without a lawyer, they gave away the rights to their songs, their royalties, and their creative control for $900 each per year. The label even changed their name to the Gollywogs without asking, a racist name that got them booed in black clubs. John hated it but had no power to change it. He compensated by tightening his grip on the band. Rehearsals became grueling. Doug once had to redo a drum fill 87 times. After a string of failed singles and a stint in the Army Reserve, John returned with a new sense of purpose. He renamed the band Creedence Clearwater Revival. Creedence from a friend of Tom's, Clearwater from a beer ad, and Revival for a fresh start. Fantasy locked them into another bad deal, but John was too eager to make it to care. In 1968, CCR released their debut album. It sold modestly, but their cover of Susie Q broke through, reaching number 11 on the charts. By 1969, they were touring constantly and recording non-stop. John wrote Proud Mary in 4 hours during a rainstorm, imagining a world he'd never seen. The song became a #1 hit, later covered by Tina Turner, earning millions, none of which the band saw. Their royalties were so low that each member earned less than 1%. Still, Fogerty drove them hard. 3 albums in a single year: Bayou Country, Green River, and Willie and the Poor Boys, each a classic. Yet behind the hits the band was cracking. John's control left no room for anyone else. When Fortunate Son exploded, it captured the rage of working-class America. But inside the band anger brewed too. Tom's guitar parts were nearly muted. Stu's bass was criticized. Doug's drumming was rewritten. By the time Cosmo's Factory came out in 1970, they were exhausted. Tom quit later that year, worn down by arguments and exclusion. The following year's pendulum was darker, more isolated. Fogerty recorded most of it alone. When Stu's bass solo was erased without explanation, he and Doug knew the band was over in spirit. Still, CCR kept touring. Over 100 shows in 8 months. Their final single, Sweet Hitchhiker, reached number 6, but there was no joy left. In 1972, John told Cook and Clifford they would each have to write and sing a third of the next album. It was a setup. He knew they weren't songwriters. The resulting record, Mardi Gras, was a disaster. Critics called it one of the worst albums ever made by a major band. Rolling Stone called it Fogerty's revenge. His songs were strong, theirs were unfinished. Fans noticed. Sales fell, and the band's reputation collapsed. Their last concert was in Denver. Fans shouted for old hits, but Fogerty refused. Mid-encore, he threw down his guitar and walked off stage. The band never played together again. A few months later, Fantasy Records announced CCR had broken up. Stu and Doug found out through the press. Fogerty retreated into silence, refusing to play CCR songs for a decade. Bob Dylan later convinced him to start again, warning him that if he didn't, people would think Proud Mary belonged to Tina Turner. But the damage was done. He had lost years to bitterness and lawsuits. In 1984, Fantasy sued him for plagiarizing himself, claiming his solo song, The Old Man Down the Road, copied Run Through the Jungle. In court, he played both songs live to prove they were different and won. The absurdity nearly bankrupted him. His revenge came with Centerfield in 1985, a triumphant comeback. But even then, he couldn't resist attacking his former label boss in songs like Vans Can't Dance and Mr. Greed. More lawsuits followed. While Fogerty isolated himself, Cook and Clifford formed Creedence Clearwater Revisited and toured the old hits. Fogerty sued them too. In court, it was revealed they hadn't spoken since 1972. His bitterness had gone so deep that even his children didn't know he'd written CCR's classics.